Hi, I'm AK with Mixpanel, and today we're excited to introduce Session Replay for Mixpanel customers. Session Replay allows you to visually capture your end user's experience with your apps and websites, and then replay those experiences inside of Mixpanel, so you can see what your end users saw. In this way, Session Replay blends quantitative metrics with qualitative data so you can understand your customers and their experiences better. Let's start off with a real-world example that highlights the value of Session Replay in Mixpanel. Here is a classic Mixpanel funnel that follows users across a sign-up flow. In this funnel, we expect users to view a page for the first time, then click the Get Started button, then interact with a form before finishing sign-up. From this view, our funnel looks okay. Our acquisition rate is right around 20%, but we can do better, right? If we dig in a little more and visualize the conversion rate metric of this funnel over time, we see an obvious concern. Conversion was around 30% just a few weeks ago, but recently we're seeing a significant dip in funnel conversion across a critical acquisition metric. It's cut almost completely in half, right here in the beginning of September. I can see from the annotations in our timeline that there were changes made to the sign-up flow just before this. If we use Mixpanel's root cause analysis right around the funnel dip, we can see the cause of this dip much more clearly. End users on the Chrome browser have completely tanked down to 0% conversion, precisely at the point where our overall funnel conversion is trending down. When we see something like this in our metrics, it usually points to a UX issue. Something is broken in our sign-up flow, and it's broken on Chrome. Mixpanel has informed us precisely what is happening, and we can see exactly who is affected, but we still don't understand why. Why did all of these users on Chrome stop converting to sign up? In most tools, we would be stuck here, but not with Mixpanel, because we can click directly into this segment of non-converted users and watch the replays of these user sessions right at the point in time in which they move through this funnel. Let's watch a couple of replays together. You can follow the event stream on the left and the visual replay on the right. This user found the Get Started button quickly and started the sign-up form. They answered the first round of questions, but on the following screen, it looks like they're having an issue. The next button that the user must click to proceed isn't active. It does look like they've answered all the required questions, but the button just isn't lit up. Is this a one-off issue? Let's watch one more. Here, the user takes a slightly different path, but arrives at the same destination. No problem with the first part of our sign-up flow, but it looks like the next button isn't working for them either. We even see the moment of frustration, and then the rage click on the next button. Yikes. And now we know. We know why users aren't converting. They can't, because the second next button is broken in our sign-up flow, and we know it's broken on Chrome. Since I'm not the developer who's going to fix this UX issue, I can copy the link of this replay and easily share it with my team. Luckily, this was a quick fix, and once I've received confirmation that the sign-up flow is fixed, I can revisit our funnel and see that conversion is back to a healthy state. And I can use Session Replay once again to verify that the proper UX changes have been made and everything is working for my end users. In fact, since this is now something we're keenly aware of, it's easy for me to set up an alert in Mixpanel specifically on the conversion rate of this funnel for users on the Chrome browser. This ensures that, if the issue ever returns, we'll get notified. This is just one of the many use cases for Session Replay as a tool to help you build better customer experiences. With that end state in mind, let's now go back to the beginning to see how to set up Session Replay from scratch, unpacking the details one piece at a time. Session Replay works for anonymous and authenticated users. The only technical requirement to use Session Replay is that you will need a Mixpanel client-side SDK installed in your app. In this example app, I'm using Mixpanel's JavaScript SDK to track events on my website. So let's look at the documentation and find the section on Session Replay. As you can see from this example code, implementing Session Replay is simple. It's a one-line change. Essentially, everywhere in our application where we initialize Mixpanel by calling the init method, we can turn on Session Replay by passing an extra option to the second argument. The option's key is record sessions %, and the value of this key is a number, specifically an integer between 0 and 100 that represents the % of sessions that we would like to record. If I set this to 0, Mixpanel records no sessions. If I set this to 100, Mixpanel records all sessions. I'm just testing this on my local computer, so I'm going to set this to 100. But before deploying this to production, you should probably start with something small, like 20% or 10%. And that's it. That's all the code changes we need to use Session Replay. Now, if I reload my website and do a couple of actions, I can go to Mixpanel and find my user. I now have a Watch Replays button here. And if I click this button, I can watch my user have the same experience that I just had. What's more, the timeline of the player on the right is synchronized to the tracked events on the left, so I can click around in the event stream to jump to a particular part of the replay. This can be really helpful if you're implementing a new set of events and want a visual reference. The player itself has a number of ergonomic features, like differing playback speeds, event search and filtering, as well as one-click short links for easy sharing. One thing you may notice about this replay is that everything is redacted. All the text on the site is replaced with asterisks instead of legible text. The images are also not being rendered with the player. This is because Mixpanel's replays by default use the highest privacy settings, which blocks nearly all the semantic content from inclusion in the replay. For most use cases, especially a public landing page like this, we'll want to customize the configuration to allow things like text and images to be included in the replays. Consulting the product documentation, we can change the default settings for Record Block Selector to Empty String, which enables images and videos to be captured, and also change Record Mask Text Selector from the default asterisk, which redacts everything, to something like Sensitive, which will only redact DOM elements with the sensitive class. After saving these changes, refreshing my local page, and creating a new replay, we can see that now all of our images are visible, as well as the text, making it much easier to consume this replay. Also notice that our financial fortune cookie text is redacted, since it had the sensitive class that we informed Mixpanel about. For other information about privacy, compliance, data retention, and recipes for installations on different platforms, please consult our product documentation and see the FAQ. We're excited to help you get started with Session Replay. We want to help you drive better outcomes with blended, differentiated analysis in Mixpanel. We want to help you learn from your data by being able to provide the best-in-class product analytics solution that blends qualitative and quantitative tools and an exploratory interface that makes it a pleasure to work with your data. Follow the link in the video description to get connected with a human today who will guide you through the process. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk to you soon.